know where there's some. Right here in the hall clerk.
No, Mommy, not in there. I have
Hi. It's been a while, I know, but life gets in the way sometimes, you know. So let me adjust the light here. This is a Zenith. Chassis number is 5C02. It's out of a 5R086 cabinet, which includes a turntable, a record player. And I had worked on this a number of years ago and didn't like the way it came out. I didn't like the cabinet refinish, and I'll show you that later. I didn't like the way the radio performed. It had no sensitivity in particular. I certainly didn't like the way the record player turned out, because this had an old crystal cartridge in it that was long dead, or I killed it, one or the other. I never did decide which. And so I spent almost 2 years looking for a way to replace that crystal cartridge with something a little more modern. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But this is version 2 of this whole setup, and I wanted to demonstrate it for you here. I'm much more pleased with the way the radio came out. It's got a lot more sensitivity. We're in a bit of a radio shadow here. All the radio stations in the Portland area transmitters are on the far side of the hill, so we don't get a lot of reception here in AM. And secondly, there isn't much worth listening to on AM anyway. You either agree with that or you don't, one or the other. Particularly around these parts, almost no music. But let me go through the band here.
We're there too, and there's no need for an in-home consultation just to get a
other nostril, helping flush out everything that makes you miserable. Nearly 4 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper.
He said the cap specialist for one of the NBA teams that is one of my...
Сообщение 971-319.
Our local Ukrainian language station.
To legally light your fireworks on July 4th, and you're out of luck.
Aquí viene, te va a gustar, la Pantera.
On the Highway 213 overpass above.
Loyal when they traded away Rasheed Wallace. 33 or 34 years old. You know, get something.
So anyway, I'm pretty pleased with the way AM has come along. The whole radio performance has improved, and it performed poorly for a really stupid reason, which I'll get into later in this video. I made a mistake. I screwed something up, and it took me 2 years to find what I screwed up, but I screwed something up. So that's the radio part. Let me get on to the phonograph. This is the AM. AM is out. Phonograph is in. The radio powers the phonograph. So I'll switch this over to automatic. Platter turns. This is the platter ejection button, is the top one.
told me that you care, that you
So the record player works, yay! And it changes. I don't have another 78, or I'd put it on there to show you. And I'll talk about what I did there in a second. Anyway. Works pretty well. So let me take this off and shut the turntable off and show you the other feature I added. And that's right here. This is the website for one of my radio stations, my favorite radio stations in the Northwest, KBRD, up in the Olympia area. And I'll play there. So that's good. And that is Bluetooth from my phone. So let's go through, oh, and this is the box right here that the Bluetooth is operating on. And I'll go over this in a little more detail, but it's drawing power from the 115 volt AC that comes into the phonograph. That's an AC motor that turns that. And it runs through a switching transformer, switching voltage transformer, gets it down to 5 volts. Then there's a Bluetooth module right here, and then a stereo to mono converter, and that runs over into the same input as the phonograph uses. So I've added Bluetooth to that, and now, what did I do wrong? Well, it's interesting, is one way to put it. It was interesting to me. May not be interesting to you, but it was interesting to me. This radio has this floating signal ground right here. So there's a ground as an earth ground. We're right there is one, and here's the other one. But you'll notice that this ground right here comes off the neutral line of the house and then runs across here, and it doesn't actually touch earth ground, which is right here. So signal ground is here, earth ground is here, and they're connected through this capacitor. Over here, there's the symbol for floating ground for signal ground is right here, and that is what I grounded. I accidentally, instead of reading that as I should have as a floating ground, not attached to the chassis, I attached this to the chassis. The radio didn't blow up. Nothing bad happened, except it didn't perform well because I wasn't getting the correct bias voltages on any of these tubes. You'll notice that this gray line right here, which is the floating ground, the signal ground, is tied back to all of these circuits. So I wasn't getting the correct biasing on this radio, and it wasn't performing as it should have. Once I discovered that, after scratching my head a lot, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong, I released this from earth ground, and it works just fine. I was getting a lot of noise. I was getting noise through the phono input, just chaos, but low-grade chaos. Nothing worked quite the way it should have, but it kind of worked, you know. So anyway, now it works as well as I'm going to be able to make it. I did do an alignment, AM alignment, and I think all is well now. So I've got now on my bench a working 5R086. And that explains that. I'll put the... This is the original Webster Electric cartridge that came with this phonograph. And what I've been spending a lot of time, more time than it was worth, it turns out, trying to figure out is how to modify one of these modern transducers. These guys are very thin. I don't know if, yeah, I can get that out of there. No, I can't. They're very thin. They do generate voltage level. They're able to generate voltage levels high enough that if there's not too much of a load, it would drive the phono input on the tuner, but it won't under any load at all. And I've tried all kinds of combinations of how to mount it, how to. I even fiddled for a little while with putting a bit of a preamp between this and the tuner, and I might go back and revisit that some more. That's a possibility. But what I found was this on eBay, an astatic. Where's the number? Number 12 cartridge. This is the original box for it. Astatic number 12, and it puts out a ton of voltage. And the one I got, and here's a picture of it, installed, the one I got is just like new. Not a bit of rust on it, corrosion, nothing. And it plays wonderfully well. So I'm very happy with that. So the astatic is almost exactly the same physical size as this. I had to file down some of the corners. The needle, the stylus, if you will, is from a jukebox collection of styluses. I can't remember the vendor, but I'll put the name below. Oh, here it is. Yeah, right here. Needles for jukeboxes. And the cartridge, the astatic cartridge, required an N4 3S needle. I got this 3mm sapphire needle from Needles for Jukeboxes, and it works great. So no complaints there either. So that's what brought the phonograph back to life. If you're asking yourself, why didn't I just put a modern cartridge in this head? The answer is, in order for this phonograph to work, it requires a tracking force of around 50 grams. I mean, 50 grams, not 3, not 3.5, not 1.5, 50. So to have the record be able to drag the head across the record and then hit the automatic return, which it does do, it works just fine. You have to have a lot of tracking force. This has to be as heavy as the original. You could come up with some counterweight thing that would lighten it up quite a bit, but then it wouldn't track across the record. It just, or if it did, it would get to here and not automatically reject and load the next record. So that's why when I got the astatic cartridge, I was delighted because it weighs just about the same as the original Webster Electric cartridge. So that's what made the phonograph work, and it was fabulous. I was so excited to hear this record coming out of that speaker over there. And finally, the last thing was the Bluetooth. This is all going into a box covered by this lid, and as I said, Bluetooth has no, my phone's Bluetooth has no problem controlling it from about 30 feet away. But this is an off-the-shelf AC to DC switching transformer. Much like you find in the wall wart, a wall wart that switches to DC has something, one of these in there. This one you can buy without tearing it out of something else. So this is a 5-volt switching transformer. It feeds a USB card or a Bluetooth card right here. Bluetooth antenna is up. I put a bit of a brass shield here to shield it from some of the noise. These things generate a fair amount of noise, but I can't hear it. So there's the Bluetooth receiver there, and then the output goes through this board that's cobbled together here, but all it does is change the stereo output of the Bluetooth receiver to mono, which goes then into the radio. So this has turned out quite well, sounds great. I can play whatever I want on here now and not be trapped either wearing out 78s or listening to the local AM blah blah blah. This is the cabinet refinished. It looks pretty good now, I think. So the phonograph sits right up in here. The radio chassis fits into this slot right here, and that box that you saw is going to get mounted up under the phonograph. And it is an aluminum box. And I did some research to see how far Bluetooth would go through a metal structure, and it turns out that it'll go a long ways. This will let me get out of the garage and still control the sound going into the Bluetooth module. So that's all going to go back in there.
Community, broadly speaking, meaning the LGBTQI.
You got your butt kicked by Alabama.
All strengthened by our partnership with OHSU.
You told me that you cared, that you would never lie. look.